So I kind of knew that I would need to do something for myself because I'd probably not be employable. We were then in a position where we lost his income. We had to come up with a plan.
Was there ever a moment where you just thought, F it, I'm just going to give up?
There were many times over the years where I've rocked in a corner and just cried and thought, why the hell do I do this? A 9 to 5 job would be so much easier. Leaders can be women as well, and I think that's what really I wanted to be able to create.
Is there anything that Hayley has not yet done that wants to do?
Yes, I make money, but it's less about the money. It's more about growing me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Money Honey Show with me, your host, Rosalia Lazzarettilli. Now, today I've got a money honey who's out there that represents huge abundance and success in the world of property. Now, when you're coming into property, you have what we call like these superheroes or these big influencers and these powerhouses. And you look at them and think, how am I going to do that? Like, how is that possible? How is that achievable? How is that ever going to happen for me? And we look to them for inspiration and we are in awe of their success and we want to learn and we want to accelerate our own growth. But sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating because you think, well, I don't know all this stuff and I've not got this experience. But surrounding yourself with the best of the best of the best is exactly what you need to be doing, whether that is going to a networking event and not idolizing them to a point where you don't even feel like you can approach them and shake their hand. I've been there before where I'm like, oh, they're not going to talk to me. I'm not going to talk to them. They're too famous. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm here to show you with this podcast that obviously, guys, there are going to be people who are not who they say they are. Okay. And there's going to be people who, have had a bad reputation, right? But today I've got a money honey who has got a phenomenal voice in the industry. She's got events, she's got an empire, she's got a family, she's got a TV show, she's on a TV show. Like, I don't know if whatever she touches just seems to turn to pure liquid money honey. Like, that is the best way I can sum her up. And we've never really had much time one-to-one together because we're always at events kind of just in the crowd. But today is my honor to actually ask her a few questions, have a private chat with you listening in. So if you are new to this show, then please remember to subscribe. And if this show impacts you, which I know it will, you're going to get so many nuggets, so much inspiration. If it impacts you, please like it, share it with someone that you feel might need to hear this message. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. We obviously love our money honeys as part of our community, and you will definitely know who this money honey is. Like I said, she is a celebrity in our space. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the wonderful, the talented Hayley Andrews. Welcome, Hayley. How are you?
Hi, thank you. That was a great introduction. I'm a little embarrassed now.
No, it's all true, is it not? Did I not list out all the things that you do? Like, literally.
It just sounds a lot when someone else is saying it, that's all.
Exactly, it is a lot. It is, and we'll get into that. How do you do it? But for those who are joining the show now, tell us who you are, what you do, and give us an intro, Hayley.
Okay, so hi, my name's Hayley Andrews. I've been in the industry now since 2002. I am a portfolio landlord across commercial and residential. My portfolio consists of everything from buy-to-lets, serviced accommodation, small HMOs, 4 to 6, right up to 21, 22, factories, car parks, pay and display car parks, museums, bars, restaurants, schools, shops. So a bit of everything, hotels, that's one of my favorites. And I own a construction company, an estate and lettings agency, a sourcing division of 42 agents UK-wide. I am the founder of Your Freedom Empire, which is a business and property training organisation. We're across 18 different countries. We're not the biggest, but we've been around a really long time, since 2006, and we're definitely the best. I'm one of the hosts for Hard Hats to Heels as well. which is a trading name of Your Freedom Empire, which is a business and property networking event for women in the space. Of which is phenomenal and great, and I'd love to talk about that more. I'm a mum and a wife. I've got lots of stories to kind of help with those that are struggling and with that balance and business as well. And I've been named one of the UK's most inspirational female entrepreneurs. I do invest in other people's businesses and projects as well. And I'm an angel on the hit Sky TV show Property Elevator. We're filming series 8 in a couple of weeks, actually. And what else? I sit on several boards. I do lots of stuff for charity. I teach children 16 to 19. And I sit on 3 historical building trusts as well. So I'm a specialist in listed buildings and restoring them and making good money out of them. It's something I thoroughly enjoy doing. And just to kind of top all of that off, I'm a data freak as well. So I'm the most boring person to sit next to at a dinner table.
I don't believe that. You've got way too many things to talk about. Well, did I not, or did I not say that this would be a money honey of dreams, like absolute superstar in, like I said, everything she touches seems to turn into gold. Now, let's start though, Hayley, from the beginning, and let's give the people the reality. How did it start? Before this liquid gold you're swimming in, what was it really like starting out?
I was a bit of a rebel at school. I've always been entrepreneurial, so I've always made money on the side, even at school, but I didn't enjoy it. I was very good. I just didn't like that surrounding and didn't thrive very well within that kind of arena. Mainly because I couldn't be bothered. I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do. I didn't like the strict rules around what time you arrive, leave, go to the toilet and all of that stuff. I always had an attitude when it came to that type of instruction and rules. So I kind of knew that I would need to do something for myself. Because I'd probably not be employable. As I said, a rebel, used to quit school all the time and go selling cigarettes down the wall for 25p a piece and make loads of money out of doing that.
Did not know that about you, but
lots of stuff. Like lots of people don't actually think that I was a rebel because they kind of see me as this respected individual in the industry, of which I am. But I do have a past as well, and everything led me to this point, good and bad decisions. But I got all of the grades. I'm a data analyst. That's my background. I studied leisure and tourism, and I would research areas to open up hotels. So it's nice that I've done a full circle and now I'm doing hotels as well. But I'd love to give you an inspirational story, but my first property was actually my home. So I purchased my first property in 2002. Well, actually, sorry, it was 2001. And then I moved in with my husband, who wasn't my husband then, and I rented my property out. I was fiercely independent. I'd saved up, the money to buy my property. I was on great income, but I never stayed anywhere very long to have a pension pot and things like that. And so I wanted to kind of start doing something early. So what I decided to do once I did this first buy-to-let was that's my route to kind of a pension in the future. So there was absolutely nothing creative about how I got started. My idea and the route that I took was save the deposit of money up because I was on great income. I come from a council estate. I'm one of 7. I'm a super frugal person. You won't see me going buying cars and flashy stuff. It's just not me. So I invested really well early on, purchased some really good properties, put tenants in there, but they were all on repayment mortgages and things like that. And there was really nothing creative. I wasn't adding value or forcing appreciation. And I didn't focus on cash flow because me and my husband combined were over £150,000 annual income. we were able to buy quite a decent sized portfolio, all in our own personal name at that time as well, of course, before George Osborne came on the scene and wrecked the lot. So we were doing that, and we thought, we thought we'd made it. We got a beautiful detached house. We were driving nice cars. We were having the holidays we wanted. Buying what we wanted, and had this surplus income. But we wasn't really making any money out of property. That was purely a pension plan for us. So while some of them cash flowed, we hadn't focused on that. We'd focused on paying the mortgages down over a 25-year period, and then we were going to just retire and have that income on an unencumbered portfolio at a point in the future when we decided to leave our jobs. But then my husband got poorly. And he was a self-employed Oracle developer. So he wrote computer software. And we lost his income overnight. And from one day being fit, healthy, we were super young as well at the time, so it wasn't something we expected. It was completely out of the blue. To then, me keeping him alive until the ambulance got there several times, and that became my life. And he ended up having brain surgery, major brain surgery, which of course has other issues that come with it. He had lots of, obviously, speech issues and weakness and things like that, movement and all of that type of stuff, spatial awareness. So that had a massive impact on our life. We went from being what we thought was the dog's bollocks with everything at our feet, enjoying our jobs, enjoying each other with this surplus income and a portfolio that was being paid down by the tenants, and we thought we'd set everything up, but we were then in a position where we lost his income. Not all of the properties cash flowed. I had to cut my hours back next to nothing to be able to take care of him. So we had to come up with a plan. And it was really just a distraction. And I read the likes of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and a few other books. And I was like, oh, okay, other people are making money out of property. I just collect property. And long term, I didn't necessarily make any bad decisions because I still purchased well, because negotiation is one of my favorite things to do. And I've always been really good at that. And so I purchased right. So I hadn't really made any major cock-ups or mistakes, but I wasn't leveraging properly. I was paying the mortgages down. I was on the wrong products. I'd got loads of equity tied up as well in the properties. So there were lots of things I could have been doing differently to obviously be an actual property entrepreneur and investor rather than just collecting properties to say I've got a portfolio. So I did the US training. It was a distraction for me. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad in the hospital. I was actually at the side of my husband when I was reading the book. And I was hooked from there, really. I was like, okay, HMOs is what we need to do. I'll replace our income as quickly as I possibly can. And then however much time we've got left, we can spend together without worrying about it. And I brought into that passive income bullshit. I've never worked harder than I do in this industry. I love it, and it's a choice. But the word passive and property does not go together in any shape or form. But we did then 15 HMOs in the first year of getting educated, and then we just grew from there. We started with the 4 to 6 bed HMOs with a total budget back then, and this was a long time ago, over 2 decades. But back then we'd got a total budget cost of around £250,000, and we were predominantly investing in Liverpool and the Black Country. And I landed contracts and things like that. So we started doing rent to rent because we couldn't turn the properties around quick enough. I had no problem raising finance. I was super mortgageable. I'd got this portfolio in my own personal name. I wasn't necessarily over leveraged or anything like that. So it was a great kind of tick in the box for any lender and anyone that was looking to invest, obviously with a solid person in the industry. Even back then, I'd still got a decent sized portfolio and more than most of the training organisations that are out there now, and I wasn't even educated. So I had no problem in raising finance or anything like that, but I couldn't turn the properties around quick enough for this contract that I landed with a recruitment company that worked for the NHS NHS or with the NHS. So I became their preferred accommodation UK wide. And I couldn't buy the properties quick enough, even though, and turn them round, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and I couldn't turn them around quick enough. So I started doing rent to rent as well. And I moved from year 4 to 6 up to years 7 to 10, year 9 plus to 21, 22, factories, commercial conversions into cluster flats and all things like that. Then I moved from there into commercial asset management, commercial to residential, commercial in multiple occupation, commercial turning them into hotels and entertainment quarters, bars, restaurants, schools, and all of that stuff. And then my most recent kind of new strategy, I would say, as in compared to the rest of them, is car parks, pay and display car parks. So it's been a slow progression over the years, and the projects have just got bigger and bigger. I do specialise in listed buildings, and a lot of the projects I do, most people would walk away from. They are problem properties, or problems in general, whether that's legally, covenants, enforcement notices, or anything else. But I just scale from there, really.
Just poof, just scaled. She just scaled from there.
Well, it's just every year I'd set goals for myself. I'm super accountable, and if I say I'm going to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, you're very disciplined.
So I'd set goals, and they would be quite sizable goals as well, and I'd smash them, smash them, and I was like, oh, it's addictive. This property stuff is addictive. And once money wasn't an issue, it was kind of like, well, I got to a point where I was, on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I was doing, in the beginning, absolutely everything for myself. So I was sourcing the deal, negotiating the purchase price, going out to tender, doing the schedule of works, going out to tender, project managing the build out, handling the refinance and the tenants or sale on the back end of it. So I was doing everything, from stripping walls to filling skips to sourcing materials and driving to pick up, this, that, and the other, the IKEA trips, staging the properties myself, and all of that type of stuff. So, and I was doing that alongside, taking care of my husband, and then later down the line, my son as well. So
it is absolutely mega. Like the amount of work that is involved, plus like the challenges in your personal life as well. Was there ever a moment where you just thought, F it, I'm just going to give up?
I mean, I definitely had those thoughts. And this is what I say to people, that are looking to get into property, and they're sold the dream of passive income and all of that. I believe is nonsense, because ultimately, even if you have your systems in place and it's all automated and you've got your people behind those systems, you're still making the final decision and you're still on call. And you don't have to be the person that's called when, a tenant's got a blocked toilet, but ultimately you have to approve the quote if it's over a certain amount, and you're still going to take that call. You still got to check on your emails and things like that. So it's never truly passive. There were many times over the years where I've rocked in a corner and just cried and thought, why the hell do I do this? A 9 till 5 job would be so much easier. And I think the more successful you become, the harder that is, because you don't have to take the risk anymore. You don't have to work to that level of productivity. So what drives you to still do it at the level that you do? And I've asked my therapist this many times, because honestly...
But good news. Sorry, Hayley, just to interject there. Good news, everybody. You are not a robot and you're not superhuman. We have emotions, and that's the good news. Not that we want to see you crumble, we don't. But it's good to know. It's good to know that like someone so accomplished and successful and well put together as you have your moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why people talk about why, and it's used as a sales tactic, and I don't really like that, because it's personal to you. And I don't really share my why or anything like that with people, because it's what drives me on a daily basis. not what I tell people. But it's so important that you have one, because it does get harder before it gets easier. And actually, as you step up to the next level and you keep leveling up, it just gets harder and harder and harder. And the person that has to show up every day has to be better and better and better. And it's addictive. And of course, success breeds further success. So you've got growth on the back end of that. Then you move from one level of business to a different level of business, more employees, more responsibility, higher, capital costs and all things like it just keeps scaling. So every version of you is different, and you just grow as an individual.
And I have heard this once before, and I always say it now, so I don't know where I heard it. If you want me to credit you, come at me, and I will happily credit you. But I heard once, new levels, new devils, and as you grow, you become like a different version of yourself. You have different problems. But Hayley, let me ask you this. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this question, but I'm going to attempt it. If someone wanted to buy your life, would you not? If someone wanted to buy it and was like, tell me a price, I want to buy your life, would you recommend it to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone asked me, it's being an entrepreneur, because that's what we are. Yes, it's in property, but I'm in business as well, and ultimately I'm here to make money. I'm not a charity, and I'm not ashamed to say that either. So they said to me, is being an entrepreneur and so driven actually a curse or a credit to you? And I said, it's something that is a credit to me, because it's exciting. The ideas I have, I put into practice, I make happen. If I'm excited about something, it's all or nothing, and you don't switch off. There's always something new that I want to do. And once I get to that level, I kind of just want to get to the next level. I don't know what feeling comfortable feels like, and that's not because I'm scared of being comfortable or don't like being in that space. I just think that for me as an individual, the projects that I do, the challenges that I take on now, yes, I make money, but it's less about the money. It's more about growing me, pushing me outside my comfort zone, bringing that next level of Hayley to the table. And that drives me. I get a great deal of satisfaction out of saying, I did
It's
that.
you.
That was me, and
And it's
that's what
almost
it's.
like you're meeting yourself every time, like you're discovering a new element of yourself. Um, can you be hugely and insanely driven and non-stop going and still be proud and content with yourself?
Yeah,
Are
you
you
can.
proud of you? Are you happy of yourself?
100%. And everything I know me, I know my core values, I know what I stand for. I get on and I do what I need to do. I don't always perform the best I possibly can be, but I show up consistently day in, day out, and I work hard. It's not that it's been easier for me because, or mom and dad have handed money down or anything like that. It's not. I've created a multi-million pound property portfolio and businesses from nothing, from scratch, because of who I am. And I've got the relationships, I've got, the contacts and the people around me and the teams around me have worked with me for a really long time. I'm very good at creating relationships, but even better at keeping them. And that says a massive amount about me and my values and how I treat people, and what I want my life, but their life to be part of, what that should look like. And I said this to my husband, says to me all the time, he thinks I'm the most amazing woman in the world. And he reminds me daily. And sometimes you need somebody to remind you what you've done. How, because to me, I've completed this and I've already started something else. And if you were to kind of say to me, what would you change? Or how would I do something different looking back? I'd say I'd celebrate the wins. I'd take more time to actually appreciate what I've just pulled off here, which most people would have thought impossible or walked away from. So I'm extremely proud of who I am. I've still got a hell of a long way to go. I I do think property and business is addictive. I absolutely adore it. I love the industry we are in. I learn something new every day. Every day I bring something new to the table. And how exciting is that? Just to kind of be able to know that for yourself.
So obviously you are proud of who you are, and like you've listed, you've got a multi-million-pound portfolio, you have a family, you have got successful sellout events, you speak on stage, you're also an angel on at Property Elevate, so you've got a TV show. Is there anything that Hayley has not yet done that wants to do?
Ooh, loads of stuff.
Tell us, what do you want to do?
I mean, I just want to do bigger, more, better. It's like, and it's not necessarily money either. Like at the moment, I'm working on an entertainment quarter, which it's three buildings. So it's an old museum, which I purchased with a covenant on there to state it could only be used as a museum, and got planning permission. It's a Grade 2 listed building as well. I got planning permission for it to be used Class C, and I'm turning it into something that I've never done before, which has been super exciting. A laser tag arena, indoor digital cricket and darts, escape rooms, indoor food huts, arcades, and things like that, which has been fantastic, and actually that project is in total, well, it will be valued at 3 million, and so it's not even huge numbers, but it's the project itself has been an absolute bloody nightmare. But this is a building that I used to visit as a child when it was a museum. It's a building that I used to take my son to right up to the point till it closed down, and then sat empty for over 10 years. And a building that I drove past daily, saying that I would love to own that property within my portfolio. So it's about regenerating, regeneration, the area, the business proposal I put together, and how I fix all of those problems and bring it all together, to deliver what needs to be done for that particular area, my profit margin, growing me, solving the problems, creating employment. So it's kind of that wider community that I focus on. But projects like that, it's fun. I mean, it's stressful.
It sounds stressful, but
Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong with that project. So I'm not going to lie. I like the building less now than I did.
is now driving
But
past it.
just I paid the deposit down, and for the arena and everything like that, for the laser tag, for example. And a few days ago I shelled out £150,000 for that tech, for the guns and everything. But how exciting is that? I got to test them out. We've built an arena. It's the theme that I've come up with. I get so much input on all of that and what it's going to look like, and that's something I've never done before. So I'm making money out of it. I'm actually making a hell of a lot of money out of this one. But I negotiated that at just over £200,000, and it's going to be worth 3 million.
Would that be one of your most lucrative deals, would you say, in your portfolio? Or you've had...
I've done lots.
What's been your most... Let's talk about your most lucrative deal, like a smart deal that you were like, this made so much business sense and it was really financially beneficial.
I mean, that project obviously is up there with the best of them, but I actually purchased that one as a 3, so I nearly lost out on that one, because I purchased that building along with an old fire station, which had been converted to a bar and restaurant, and it got outbuildings on the back of which I wanted to turn into serviced accommodation. And then off the back of that was an office block, which we've got planning permission to turn into a 15-bed boutique hotel. And so they will all service each other. I'd say that's probably, combined, all three would be the most lucrative. I can't say lucrative.
Lucrative.
I'm from the Black Country. I can't always pronounce everything. I think probably the one that was completely free, and makes me £6,000 a month was the car park.
Yeah, about that. How did
Yeah.
you come across just buying a car park? We hate those things. We
Yeah,
hate
so
those pay and display machines.
yeah, just go popping them up on other people's land. No,
Yeah,
you
don't bring it
don't
near
do
me,
that.
Hayley. Don't do
So
that.
how I came about that one, that was a commercial building. It's a Grade 2 listed building. I'd worked on that project with grant funding as part of the trust. I knew the history of the building as well. And this property, again, I used to drive past, and there was always Ferraris and everything on the drive. And it was a construction company. And I thought, they must be making some money in that company. All of these flash Ferraris and everything on the drive, a few different colours as well. And they went into liquidation. So obviously not very good at. They're very good at making money, but not very good at keeping it by the looks of it. So they went into liquidation. So I purchased the building out of liquidation, but there was a lot of competition on this building. I think I purchased it about £880,000. I put an unconditional offer down on the building and completed within 30 days, and it was cash purchase. So it was very quick transaction that happened. And the reason I secured this, which was below market value, but my speed and the fact that I was doing an unconditional offer put me against the competition at a better. They needed speed. They wanted the cash. They didn't want to wait for mortgage or lending to kind of come through. So I was a good solid offer, although I wasn't the highest, and they went with me. But the reason I could buy this property at that value was I was purchasing another block around the corner, which was offices, of which we were converting into residential. So the leases on that were coming to an end, and we wasn't going to renew them. So I found the school that were renting a new location. So I protected my downside. I knew the history of the building. I knew that all of the asbestos and all the problems had been removed. It didn't matter that it was Grade 2 listed because I'm an expert within that field, and that's what I do. Everybody that had looked at this looked at it as commercial to residential, and then the land on the side. There was a large car park with this office block, and then at the back of that, an old bowling green, which was also our land. And it's basically two buildings. So you had the listed building on the front, which was an older listing, and then the listed building on the back, which is another building double the size of the front one. So, but it was all under one title. So everybody that was looking at this, and even the estate agents that were trying to sell this, were advertising it as a development opportunity. But it was in a conservation area. It had got protected views of the castle. It was a listed building, and it was opposite the council house. So there was no way they were ever going to get planning permission for that. I knew that. Again, I'd been working with this council for over a decade, and I knew that there was no way that planning would approve that. All conservation would be on side. So I did a whole feasibility about what could this land be. And I went out to the public, I went to local businesses, I looked at and monitored local car parks, what were people paying, how long were they staying for, and all of that stuff. I did a whole feasibility on that and found out that there was an issue with parking. It was near the town centre as well, 2-minute walk to the town centre, so it was a great location. So we got planning permission for it to be a car park, and that was free. All of that was free because it was as an asset management deal. I purchased right. The school that were put in there, while we spent about £180,000 doing it up, it wasn't my money. I project managed it, but I put maybe £40,000-50,000 in, and the rest was their fit out costs to make it fit for their purpose. And then we refinanced, pulled all of our initial capital out plus £200,000. So I'd got a great deal that cash flowed with a solid tenant in there with a £25 million turnover. So I had it valued even at vacant possession and 70% loan to value. I still pulled all of the capital out plus the 200. It worked out about 180 actually, if we're going to be exact. And then the car park was free. I went with Parking Eye. They did all of the setup. They take the penalty charges. I get 100% of the revenue, and it generates £6,000 a month. on average out of the first year.
Amazing. Oh my God. Who would have thought that? Because like, when you look at property, you just think like bricks, mortar, house, rooftop, like that's the kind of stuff you want. But you're really, really diversifying your portfolio. That's
Well,
phenomenal.
I think that's why I do so many different things, because when people say to me, "What strategy do you work on?" I say, "Whatever makes me money or
On it,
helps
yeah.
me grow." So I think sometimes you can get tunnel visioned and focus on one particular strategy because that's what you think you should be doing. But actually, whenever you're looking at any deal, you should always look at everything, because you might be focusing on commercial to residential, but actually commercial asset management or in multiple occupation with good solid tenants in place, if you can hook up with some franchises and things like that, is a much better option and much lower risk and less hands-on once you've found the tenants and that. So you can buy, and actually in other cases it is a residential conversion and turning it into flats or whatever. But it all comes down to what works for that particular location. And this is where my data background has really saved me, because I love research, I love history, I love data. All of those combined together just means I know what product I'm putting to the market, why I'm putting it to the market, and I know that I'm going to get it valued at what I need it valued at. Um, so I leave no stone unturned. I become the expert and know exactly what's going on, what's missing, and can I solve a problem? Can I buy right? And that tells me how much money I'm going to make.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're that's what making a sound financial investment looks like, because you need to have the data and you need to be aware of what you're buying. Now, we are coming to the end of the show, but I don't want to end without a snippet and insight into hard hats to heels. Please, please, please share a quick snippet of what that's about. And then we would obviously love to have you back on the show in the future to evolve on this story. We can maybe get some questions from the audience. But yeah, tell us about hard hats to heels.
Hard Hats to Heels came about because I'm surrounded with men, and while there's lots more women that have come in the industry now, because I've worked with the teams that I have for as long as I have, majority of the people that I work with are men, just as an occupational hazard, as a result of I've always used them. I'm a very loyal person to them and their services. And I think when I first started out, there wasn't very many women at all. And I actually forgot how painful that was, because time heals. And then I was thrust back into a situation where I was in a network that and not many people knew who I was. And I was treated really poorly as a professional that's been in the industry since 2002 and is well known and well respected for the work that I do. I was made feel by someone less successful, well, say someone, a male, less successful, speaking to me in a way that was inappropriate. And I thought, if they can treat me like that, and I can stand toe to toe with anyone, and I'm confident female, I am successful, I practice what I preach, and everything that I've done stands behind me and is there on show for the world to see. And so I thought, if they can treat me like that, what is it like for other women in the industry? And I've kind of fallen into they treat me better because of my experience and because of my reputation and who I am, and less about because I'm a woman as such. So I started speaking to some women about their experiences, and actually lots of women felt really uncomfortable going to networking events, being overspoken, not having a voice, having to work 10 times harder than any guy in the room, and be 10 times more successful to get the same recognition. And I kind of thought, you know what, it brought back the memories of when I first started, not being taken seriously, having to prove my capabilities all the time, managing, people's perceptions of me as a young, back then attractive female in the industry as well, automatically going to my male counterpart, or my husband or anybody that wasn't me, if they were trying to find out, who's the person in charge. So I I created Hard Hats to Heels to create that safe place where women can just come, thrive together, and the energy when it's just women is I needed it. So I help them, but they give me so much more. Just by having that space, having them around me, having that feminine energy, missing, I guess, that part of me that I know exists. Because I've had to be in a male-dominated, industry. And that's not to say, I know good guys, I know good females, and I know bad on both sides as well. That's not to say that all guys are terrible. And I've wrote an article for Blue Bricks magazine that's coming out in their March, April edition, actually, about communication on site and things like that between men and women, and how we could perhaps do something on both sides to improve that entire situation. But that's really where it all started. Wanting to create a space where women could come, be themselves, be women instead of trying to behave like men. We don't have to be masculine women to be powerful or dominant or successful or leader. Leaders can be women as well, and I think that's what really I wanted to be able to create, a platform for women to stand up, have a voice. They all are equal. They all bring something to the table. It doesn't matter whether they're starting out or whether they've been in the industry for 20 odd years. In that space, we're just us, which is amazing.
That's exactly what we embody here at the Money Honey. That is exactly our mission with the podcast, is that we are celebrating the talented women in this sector, and we're giving them an identity, and we're giving them a voice, and we're giving them a community that it thrives off each other. And not everybody is a women supporting women champion. They're not everyone is, but that's not our tribe anyway. So once again, a huge thank you to a truly beautiful Money Honey that embodies it in not just her work, but in her spirit. Thank you, Hayley, so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate your journey and the story that you shared with us. We will obviously link everything into the show notes. And once again, if this episode has really touched your heart, or has really taught you something, has given you a light bulb moment, has really been relatable to you, or someone that you think can benefit from listening to this is your time now to act and contribute, which is what we call positive pollination at the Money Honey. And it is to share that message, share it with someone that needs to hear this, because Hayley's here today making her mark on positive pollination. She's sharing her voice and her talents with us. But you can do that too, just by simply either joining the show, sharing the episode with someone, or just reaching out to Hayley and saying, thanks. I needed to hear that. So once again, thank you, Hayley. Thank you, everyone, tuning in to the Money Honey Show, and I'll see you on the next episode.